I've been meaning to make or buy an air filtration unit for a while, and I've seen some on Lumberjocks that people made themselves that were really good. So that's what I'm going to make. I was given this squirrel blower motor by my parents. It came out of their old wood burner, so that's what we're going to use. A little bit bigger than I had planned, but that's okay. It'll blow more air. So I'm going to plug it in just to show you how powerful this thing really is. Running away. I think it's going to move plenty of air. So I'm just going to build a basic box for this. There's going to be an outlet right here for the air to blow out, and back here we're going to put two filters, one expensive filter and then a cheaper filter, so I can hopefully save the more expensive one a little bit. What I'd like to do eventually is put ducting right here so I can either blow it into the building to circulate it or just blow it straight out. But if I do that, I'm going to have to put a vent back there somewhere so it can suck air back in. This is my plan. This is going to be the box. That's the opening, the top. This is looking down the top. The blower will go right here, and then the two filters will go right here. And the blower is actually going to stick out a little bit right here where the where it comes through and the air blows out. This is the front. I'm going to cut a hole in it, and the blower is going to stick out and the air is going to come out through there. This will be the back. The filters I got are a little bit smaller than I wanted, but they didn't have the size I wanted. So there will be a hole in the back too. And the side, one of these sides is going to open too, so I can change the filters. My plan was to have the top open, but once I get it mounted, I think it's going to be hard to get a 25-inch filter to go down in it. So I'm going to put the opening on the side to change the filters. First thing I'm going to cut are the tops and bottoms. They're going to be 23 3/4 by 32. Wanted to make it a little bit bigger, but I didn't want to buy more than one sheet of plywood, so hopefully it all fits together. I had them cut it at the store, and of course they didn't cut it square, so now I'm going to have to use this circular saw to square it up before I move on. Okay, so now I have a square edge to go off of for these pieces anyway. I'll probably have to do the same thing with the other one. Now we're going to do the sides, which are 23 3/4 by 30. Same thing with this piece. I need to square this piece up before I cut it too. Now we can cut it down to 30, and hopefully it'll be square. Now what I'm going to do is put a rabbet on the tops and bottom edges to put the box together easier. I have marked where I want the rabbet, that way I don't put it in the wrong spot. Okay, so I got my rabbets done. The plan was to have the side door slide in a track, but the plywood that I got is really bowed, so I'm afraid it's not going to slide very good. So I'm either going to put the side door on a hinge that opens up or down, or maybe put the back on a hinge if I can figure out a way to get the filters in and out without them getting stuck somehow. I'll have to have something I can remove that'll block them in, but I can take them out too. So it's still a work in progress. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and glue one of the sides on, and then I'm going to decide later if I want to glue the other side on, or make it a door, or what I want to do, because I'm not sure yet. And it's late and I need to go to bed. I keep trying to remind myself it doesn't need to be pretty, because that's really hard for me to do. I want it all to look perfect and pretty, even the inside. I might stick a few nails in this after it dries too, or screws, I mean, to secure it a little more. But the plan is to put it on a shelf. That way I don't have to worry about the bottom falling through, because that thing is heavy. Okay, it's all glued up. I'm going to let that dry for the night and come back tomorrow and decide what else I want to do to it. The more I looked at it, the less I liked the way the clamps made it bow. I didn't want to leave it like that overnight, so I did go through, stick screws through it so I don't have to worry about the glue coming apart. So I'll be back to work on it hopefully tomorrow. So this is going to be my front, so I need my front to be 30.5 by 30.5 by 32. This is going to be my front. It's going to be 30.5 by 32, and then I'm going to put a rabbet around all the edges so it pops right in. And then I'm also going to cut a hole in the middle for the vent to come through. This piece actually doesn't seem too out of square, so I'm going to cut it a 1/2 inch over, measure the diagonal, see if we're square. I don't have to use the circular saw. And this just goes to show you, don't grab whatever's on top. Find a flat piece, because this whole sheet is just all warped and out of whack. There's nothing I can do about it now. Hopefully with a bunch of screws and glue and clamps I can straighten it back out. So it is 44.5. Just barely under 44.5. now we're back over to the router to cut the rabbets in this. The reason I'm using the router and not the table saw and a dado blade is because wood is so warped, it's easier for me to tip it all around to try to get an even rabbet on it. Okay, so there's our rabbit. So let's see if it fits. Okay, so once I put a few clamps on it to pull that bow out, it fits just right. So now I'm going to cut the hole in the middle. This is the top, this is the bottom. So I'm measuring off the bottom. It's 3.5 inches up to the opening, and then I believe the top of the opening is 17.5, so I'm going to use that to measure. And then I'm going to cut it out with a jigsaw. Okay, now I have my opening marked out, so I'm going to cut that out with a jigsaw, and then we'll unclamp it, take it off, and take it over to the fan and make sure it works, because I'm not going to have much wiggle room once I get inside the box. I've decided it's going to be kind of a rough cut. I'm going to put trim and maybe some caulking or some foam sealant around between the wood and the opening, right around in there. That way I have a nice tight seal so it's not sucking any air back in through the front. I'm glad I decided to use trim, because not only can I not cut real straight, but it left a really bad edge when I was cutting across the grain. Okay, let's see if it fits. That'll work. Now we can glue it up. Okay, so now I've got the front glued and screwed. This is the front. It's sitting on its back. I don't have the back made yet. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. Okay, so I just realized my original plan of having this side open so I can get to the filters and everything isn't going to work, because I plan on putting it on this wall right here, which would make my door up against the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw this on rather than glue it and screw it. That way, if I ever need to, I can take it off to get to the blower. And then I'm going to make it so you can change the filters from the back. So what I'm going to do right now, before I screw that together, is put the blower in there. I think it'll be easier with only 3 sides on. Okay, I went ahead and screwed my other side on before I put the motor in, because I realized I had to get to the bottom to screw it. And then I also had to cut another 1/2 inch off the top there, because I didn't account for the 1/2 inch plywood on the bottom when I measured. So now it's a perfect fit. Put the trim up and it'll look good. I also put the motor in and bolted it down in all 4 corners. So now I need to figure out a way to get the air filters in the back and be able to change them. I'm also going to have to drill a hole for the cord. Now what I've done is I've taken and put cleats all around it. The bottom I just glued, the rest of them I screwed because I couldn't get my drill underneath it. I don't want to tip it. So next what I'm going to do is take these. That one's a little bit long, but they'll go in there. And that's where my filter will go in. I was going to have my filters separated, but I thought there's really no reason for that. I'll just put them together and then put some kind of brace up here to hold them in. Okay, now what I've done is make kind of like a face frame. I used Craig screws. And it is going to go in here. It's going to go in there. I'm going to screw it in once that glue dries. And I'm going to have to make some kind of supports to hold the filters. Now what I've done is I went through and marked the center of each, well, 3 sides. And I have also marked the center of my filter. So I'm going to line up those marks, and then I'm going to draw a square around it, and that's where I'm going to need to put my supports to hold the filters in place. Now I have glued and screwed my cleats on here. That is where my filter is going to go. I'm going to put some kind of little swivel tab on there to hold them in.
And I'm drinking.
And you're drinking? And Peyton's drinking. So I need to secure that in the box and put the swivel tabs in. And we'll almost be done. Okay, so I made my clamps, I guess you could call them clamps, to hold the filter in. And they'll swivel out of the way when you need to change the filter. But they're tight enough that they're not going to move on their own. So now I'm going to go put this in the box. I have also put a hole down here to run the cord through. Actually, I made two. We're going to use this one because that's in the wrong spot. So let's put it in. This goes in here, and I'm going to screw it to the cleats that I put in earlier. There's the hole for the cord. Just like that. I have a little extra room on the sides because I was short on plywood and I didn't want to cut another sheet for a 1/2 inch. So they're going probably just with spray foam, because I'm going to spray foam the front too and make sure everything's nice and airtight. I'm going to go through and screw this to all the cleats. And I think we'll be ready to turn it on. That should be the last thing I have to do. Now I've got it all screwed in, so now I just need to take it off the little mover helper, the casters, and then we can plug it in. And then okay, time to see if it works. I brought a heavy-duty paper towel to see if it'll suck it up. Like I said, it's still probably going to suck air through these little spots that I'll plug up later, but let's see if it works. See how much air is flowing over here? It's still moving quite a bit of air. I don't think it's moving quite as much as it was without the filter, so hopefully these filters don't impede the airflow too much. I'd like to leave it down for a while just to make sure it doesn't get too hot, because it was even getting hot before I actually built the box. The motor still got kind of hot, so it doesn't get hot. If it does start to get too hot, if the motor gets too hot, like it's blocking off too much air, then what I'll probably do is cut a hole in the side and put a filter in the sides too, and that should help the airflow. So we'll let it run for a while and see.